Hello and welcome to ETCI or BFSI Digital Conclave. The theme of this conclave is BFSI 2025 Strengthening Digital Connectivity, and I'm sure you must have enjoyed the other sessions as well. Moving ahead in this session, we are going to talk specifically about the automation and how the BFSI companies actually building business over agile automation, or how are they actually adopted agility specifically in automation front. I have a couple of common questions and a few specific questions as well. But before I begin, let me introduce you to the best panel that I have for this session. And I will introduce you to the speakers that I have one by one. So my first speaker for this panel discussion is Mr. Pravin Sharma, CTO, Union Bank of India. Mr. Sharma, glad to have you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really, it's a privilege to have you there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma. Same here. My next speaker is Mr. Kersi Tavadia, CIO, BSE Ltd. Mr. Tavadia, glad to have you.
Same here.
My next speaker is Mr. Mukesh Malik, COO, Aditya Birla Capital. Mr.
Hi.
Malik, glad to have you.
Hi, thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. My next speaker is Mr. Deepak Lingwal, COO, SBI General Insurance Company Limited. Mr. Lingwal, glad to have you.
Hello, Amol. Meeting you again. Thanks. I'm glad to be a part of this webinar.
Thank you. And my next speaker is Mr. Anant Gupta, the leader of financial services at Google Cloud India. Mr. Gupta, glad to have you.
Hi, Amol. Thank you. Thank you for having me, and a pleasure being here.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, we have a banker, we have a financial services head, we have a insurance, we have an exchange, and we have a tech company as well. So, we are going to actually, talk a lot about how the automation is, strengthening the BFSI sector. So, let me start with a very basic question, and I will start with you, Mr. Sharma. This is a common question for all of you. How has automation in BFSI? When we speak about BFSI or automation, I want to speak about the daily operations. So, how has automation in BFSI in daily operations made a difference in the productivity? As we have seen in banking, everything has changed from check, to demand draft to regular cash deposits. Every operation today has been automated, almost every operation. So, how do you see the difference in the productivity, Mr. Sharma?
Two things, in terms of automation and irrespective of the industry, whether it's an BFSI or something else. The automation is helping the organization, whether it's a bank or any other institution, in multiple ways. If I see, there are two things. If I particularly talk about the banks, one is the service, which is directly connected to the customer, and another one is the backend services. So the automation, the more and more automation in the backend, is helping the organization to improve the efficiency, as well as the error, removal of the chances of the error. See, if the manual processes are there, then there is always a chance that things will be somewhere will be get mistaken, and whether intentionally or unintentionally, but some mistake will be there, and which will cause a cost to the bank or to the institution. And if I am able to automate that, it is going to give me a more and more efficiency. Errors are less, human interventions are less, time is going to be reduced. So if I'm able to build and automate the most of the things which is being done, whether in terms of the repeated exercises or the day-to-day operations or the reconciliations, all such things which are being automated are helping to the customer as well as to the bank. Say, I take an example. If I have automated my entire reconciliation, wherein whether I have used the RPA and with the analytics, then most of the transactions I am able to, on the fly, I am able to credit to the customer in case of the failed transaction. In an earlier scenario, it takes minimum 1 day or two to get back my own money if it has been a failed transaction. So these kind of solution, this kind of automation is helping the banks, and nowadays automation is really increasing their footfalls. So automation in terms of the disaster recovery automation, wherein the systems are capable enough that if your primary is failed, then automatically the system will be moved to the secondary. So that kind of automation are also are in the implementation. So those are going to have a long run, which is going to help in a larger manner to the institution in terms of operational efficiency, reduction in the cost, etc. So these are the things which are going to change, and it's a long way to go.
Okay. Yes, it's a long way to go, and still, I mean, we have achieved a lot, Mr. Sharma. Thanks for your opening remarks there. Let me move my focus to, Mr. Lingwal.
Amol, if you ask about the automation, I think this is the need of the hour. And I think COVID has resulted into preponing of many of our journeys, be it banking sector or insurance sector. So automation and digitization are the two key factors in any BFSI sector nowadays. And if you talk about the efficiency criteria, if you talk about the cost criteria, I think this is the one area where every company is investing a lot. And if you talk about the number of bots that are being used, it is in millions, right? All across the world. So that shows the importance of automation. So fortunately, in my SBI General, both processes, if you talk about the business transformation or if you talk about the automation, I'm the one who's leading the way in our company. So this is very, very close to my heart as far as automation is concerned.
Right. Noted your points. I think noted points there, meaningful points there. Mukeshji, come to you now.
I think automation has played a tremendous role in the growth of BFSI industry. Had we not automated, and especially India has very small ticket sizes and transaction volume velocity is very, very high. So had the industry not worked so efficiently in the automation space, I think the operating expense ratio of banks and other companies in BFSI would have been very different, and they would have been unprofitable today. So the entire framework has been enabled by the regulators in the last 2 decades very efficiently. You talk about the entire payment mechanisms done in the country. The way money moves in the country is very different from the way it was 15 years back. You talk about India Stack, the whole KYC, CKYC, DigiLocker, PAN Aadhaar card. All those enablements have really helped the industry, and that has enabled a lot of back-end automation. In today's digital era, there is no point in doing only front-end automation and offering very agile front end to the customers for logging in transactions if we do not automate our mid office and back offices. So this focus on mid office and back office automation has really helped the BFSI sector grow. Is extremely important, and people earlier spoke about RPA technology. So in our company, we have a very methodical approach to automation. We have something called automation index, which we arrive at for every key process. Then we pick up process by process and sub-process by sub-process and go about automating them. We have close to 500 RPA robots in our company today. Email bots scan through all the emails, understand customer intent, auto-prepare the responses, including attachments and all, back to the customer. We have several ways of doing automation in our mid and back offices. So it has made a huge difference, no doubt.
Okay, noted your points. Now let me move my focus to exchange. Tavadia sir, please, share your perspective, because when the BFSI companies went for automation, specifically banks and insurance, the first example or the case study they looked at was the exchange, right?
For us, the automation we started almost 6-7 years ago. It's not new to us, because running an exchange with and initially we had running with only say one market segments, and we had the same team. Now with multiple market segment, multiple products, our operations team has remained the same. It was only because of this automation that otherwise we would have had to, for every market segment to run, and all these operations have to run parallelly. So it is not that a team will do, then the same team will do the next job. Like all market segments have to start at 9 o'clock, for example. So equities market, derivatives market, currency market, commodities market, and everybody's BOD, EOD operations have to be automated. And because of this automation, 100% that we have done, we are able to achieve 100% accuracy minimum. And the same people who are actually the operations team are now, we call them as a checker team. because actually the work is done by the machines. So only if the machines fail for XYZ reason, okay, there are chances, there are cases where like, no, that's when the human comes in and says, okay, fine, if this failed, let us do this. Like, no, the file is getting delayed. Then they'll call up somebody, the files is not yet come in. That's why the process is stuck up. Like, no, better. So this kind of work. So it is the entire BOD operations as well as the end of the operations has been fully automated in the exchange. And any new process that we go live, like we ensure that within next 1 or 2 weeks, its automation sets in, because we need to formalize a correct process, because also we need to automate the right way. That's also very, very important, because at times we try to automate without thinking the way we were doing it. Like manually, we had to do 5 steps because we are doing it manually. But if we are automating, can we eliminate some steps? So automation also, in a sense, needs some sort of a process re-engineering, a process tweaking. So it is not always automating everything that you are doing manually. So I think that is a very, it's a fine gap, thin line over there. Like it's a lot of time people try to use one word or the other for each other. Right? But here I see it's always when you're automation, it's more of a hybrid that you need to both to get 100% effectiveness of the automation.
Right. Okay. I think meaningful points here, Mr. Tavadia. Let me bring Mr. Gupta here. And I'm sure, Mr. Gupta, your perspective will be different. So I will tweak the same question which I asked for other gentlemen. And the question is, how do you see automation by the BFSI company?
So thanks, Amol. And I think the esteemed panelists have already covered quite a few points, right? Mr. Sharma spoke about efficiency in operations. Mr. Lingwal spoke about, scaling with the number of bots that are kind of, getting deployed in the industry today. Mr. Malik also spoke about the India stack and how that has propelled the entire automation journey for companies. And Mr. Tavadia spoke about lean operations and the importance of getting processes or structures into it as well, so that it can scale effectively. And each organization is doing a lot in the automation space. I think I'll probably kind of just spoke about 2-3 other things which as a technology provider, right, to automation that we are seeing in the industry today, right? So one, I think the automation has, in my mind, has had impact on 3 different areas as well, right? So one is in terms of faster turnaround times, right, from a processing efficiency standpoint. And each and every organization that we speak to today is wanting to be much more customer centric and therefore have their operations leaner to the extent that they can, right? So automation, both from bots and platforms, has definitely helped in that, right? Second is in terms of if you look at the second major stakeholder for any of our organizations is about our employees, right? I think there is a definite difference that automation also makes in terms of taking away the menial jobs from or the tasks that need to be done from employee perspective, and having the same employees kind of focus on much more meaningful jobs or much more decision making jobs internally. So that definitely kind of we wherever we are working, I think we've seen a definite uptick in terms of employee satisfaction with the aid of automation as well, right? And third, I think it also, to Mr. Zavadia's point, right, as we look at the entire process, it also helps us build in tighter controls during the entire process as well, right? Many of the organizations, as they start to automate, right, they also figure out that there are portions of the process probably they are not well documented or are archaic. So as they think about automation, I think each and every organization is also taking that opportunity to renew that entire approach of how do we run our operations as well, right? Those are the 3 points I wanted to add.
Okay. I think good points. I think I got from all of you. Now let me get into a bit specific, and we'll add more color to it from all of you. So let me understand now. So obviously we all agree that how automation is actually increasing productivity and helping us to grow. But building business is far more important now. So and again, in catching that business value, creating that business value out of automation is very important. So, Mr. Sharma, I will come back to you now. And considering the many changes that have already happened in your bank or at the banking sector, what are the new areas which you think that your bank will go for an automation very soon? and how will you actually consider creating or maybe generating a business value out of it?
See, automation, as earlier also I was mentioning, automation is changing the entire working scenario. If you see the kind of automation which is happening in the account opening process, whether it's on liability side or on the asset side. So even the lending, up to a certain extent of the value is getting almost fully automated. So the entire process is coming as a STP. So that is getting going to be enabled in the banking industry, which is up to a certain level it has been done. But again, so the automation in lending is little challenging, because the kind of BRE which you are going to configure is a game changer. So those things are the futuristic, where in automation at least. So those things, whether you are doing the KYC verification in terms of video KYC, or the liveliness of the customer, where he's sitting and all, and putting an all combination into the picture, and then operating his opening his account, allowing him his a transaction, and confirming back to the those opening portals the status of that. So entire automation, in terms of account opening, lending, is going to be the futuristic, thought process. And earlier also I was mentioning from the backend process. I think the operations are also in the pipelines for doing this kind of automation. See, another which is some organization must have done. Some are in the phase of doing, because the kind of AI which is going to help you, or is helping, is the complaint redressal systems, where the more and more the volume, more and more the complaint percentage, if you are handling highest volumes, small things will have a larger number of complaints. So those kind of complaints, putting in the proper bucket, and getting responded in an automatic manner, is another area which is the future is the forthcoming areas where the things has to be taken care in terms of automation.
Okay, okay. Uh, Valid points, Mr. Sharma. Mr. Lingwal, we have seen a remarkable automation in issuing policies, right? And specifically on the health side, there is a lot of innovation there. Travel insurance you can simply buy with the air ticket itself. But what about the claim? Like Mr. Sharma said, that on lending side, automation will have certain issues, not with all the loans, perhaps, not corporate loans will go for it. Do you also face some challenges creating business value and creating automation in all the large claims or something like that?
It's a very good question, Mr. Amol. I think claim is the one critical factor. That is why the customer comes to us. The ultimate result is claim settlement. And recently, SBI General has been awarded with the best or the fastest claim settlement company. It is because we have got certain systems in place. So if you talk about the claim settlement part per se, I think we are pretty comfortable in managing the show, because primarily there are 2-3 LOBs where claim settlement should be faster. One is the health, another one is the motor, and then the commercial line of business. So I'll discuss first about the kind of system we have got in place. So when we talk about the motor settlement, motor claim settlement, there we are using some of the good AI-based systems like Rapid, Motorways, and another important is the ADDA, that is Artificial Damage Detection and Assessment application. So entire process end to end is automated, right from the registering the claim, then assessment of the claim, and finally the payout. So there's not much challenge there. Coming back to the second major LOBs, that is health. There also we have got a very good system called EO2. So there are certain cashless transactions and then reimbursement also. So cashless process is entirely automated. So it comes through TPAs. They have got system in place where, and the assessment is done based on our AI ML understanding. But coming back to the main question which Mr. Amol has asked, that yes, we do face some challenges in terms of settlement of large claims when it comes to the commercial claims. that is the one area where we need to assess the claim in a much broader, from a much broader perspective. Reason being, there are surveyors involved in the process, and entire process cannot be automated, because there we need to have some kind of manual intervention, because basically we are there in fire and business package policies. So these are the two areas where we are still in a process wherein we would like to automate certain claim settlement process, but maximum we are on manual mode as of now. Some of the things we are doing, but I think this is the one area which is open for automation as of now.
Okay, okay. Noted your points, Mr. Lingwal. Mr. Tavadia, now, the important question that comes to my mind is, you're not only just helping investors or maybe customers, to settle immediately the transactions they're moving, which is T+2 or something. At one side, SEBI is trying to reduce that gap. That is one part of it. On the other part, corporate companies, maybe Union Bank of India would like to, share some information with you of a result, and you will have to simply put it on the website immediately under the corporate account. This has to be automated. This is already happening. What is the next step at the exchange level when it comes to automation? Because we are talking about digital revolution, which is still being explored by a lot of BFSI companies, and which is happening globally. So, what is the next step that you are thinking of specifically in automation?
There are many areas in which we see automation. Like I said, it's a continuous process. It is not a product. Like you can say, it's like any area that you pick up the functioning of the exchanges. Like you said, one of the things was what we said is the automated listing. Like earlier used to be a manual task. Like a submerged company, a board result is declared. Okay, and the company secretary uploads it on the on a BSE portal. Earlier they used to like a fax it or send an email, and somebody in our team would read it, open it, type it, and then it comes on the portal. The entire thing was taking a couple of minutes or hours. And that's where the information can leak out. Like early price sensitive information can leak out. Now today we have come to a level that the company themselves, the company secretary directly uploads on our portal and immediately comes on their website. So nobody from BSE is involved. At the same time, the information is available to entire country at the same instance. So there is nothing like a man in. So we have removed all man in the middle and the process is in the middle. So we have given a system directly to the listed companies. They can connect to our portal and upload whatever they want. Okay. So this is already happening. Similarly, while even publishing the corporate results, and I'm proud to say that what we have done is XBRL formats, protocols. Earlier, people used to send PDFs, Excels, and to interpret. Though you have AIs and everything, there could be errors in interpreting figures or interpreting or judging the account heads and all, whatever AIs used to do. So we have developed a taxonomy, which is BSE was contributing to the Indian tax institutions, and we have done it. So we have developed our own taxonomy. So now all the listed companies can publish their annual figures also in that particular XBRL format. So that this is an entire, so no need of printing a balance sheet in X or Y format and then somebody decoding it. So this is all type of automation we already done. So again, there are many such. So even we are also automated. A long back we had automated something on the rumor mongering system, like our AIs. Like when you read something on the listed company, something is happening on a listed company. So you read Facebook, Twitters, or something happening on the social media, something happening on the TV news channels. We expect the companies to report to us. That's a mandate. Like if there's anything about your company. Many times it happens that we don't hear from the company. But since we have this market information, our AI and ML will generate and justify and try to say it is a rumor. We send that rumor to the listed company. Okay, this is what we assume. This is our assumption. Like our AI has printed out and this is the facts. The company has to certify whether it's true, right, wrong, whatever it is. So again, here it's a straight through processing. So rather than going by a lot of social media news leakages and people talking 10 different things, we have given a platform so that anything if the exchange suspect is fishy sort of thing, we ask the company for an answer, and whatever answer comes directly goes on to our website.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying, that these are the kind of automations that BSE has been continuously doing.
Okay. Uh, Noted your points, Mr. Tavadia. I think that's a
Even
XBRL
on the
format.
IPO fronts, we have done so much of automation that today when the IPO, in fact, the LIC IPO which is coming out is going to be one of the testimony of the level of automations that we have gone through, both the banking side, the BFSI, I would say, the insurance company, I mean, the DPs, the exchanges and the banks together. When the ecosystem automates and shakes hands and does API sharing, I mean, that's the biggest testimony that the world will see. Like, I mean, I would say.
Okay. Okay. Valid points, Mr. Tavadia. Thanks for this information. Mr. Malik, I will come to you. What is going to be your strategy going ahead now? Because, on the insurance front, a lot of changes are happening. Everybody has been automated to certain level. What is the future of automation do you see at your company? What are the new areas that you want to, set for automation?
Okay. I think I don't see any area in the company which does not require automation or it could saturate anytime soon, because there's so much to do in the intelligent automation space using various technologies. So customers expect very fast, quick turnaround time for everything, whether they are being onboarded for a new product or for an endorsement change or or seeking a claim. Anything you ask for, we all need to focus on juicing out maximum from the data that we have on our record already on the system from the customer or during the journey of that lodgement. We need to have very strong mechanisms, AI, ML based, system automations to pick up whatever juice we can have from the data and make sure that customers do not enter much information. So we take copy of Aadhaar card, PAN card, or CKYC documents we retrieve from the India stack, and we should be able to extract everything from there, put it back to the customer for quick, go through and then just approve. And beyond after that, we need to have methods in automation in our underwriting. So underwriting is also being highly focused upon using AI/ML technology. So we have our last, let's say, 20 years of history of claims for various cohorts of customers. And over a period of time, this will absorb a lot of information from external sources like social media, bureau, and so on. And over a period of next couple of years, I would say about 85% of underwriting will be totally automated. We are currently at about 50% right now. That's another area. And we heard earlier about the automation in general insurance as well. So the entire life cycle of customers, whether it's for onboarding, retention, and exit, all three will continue to be focus areas. Besides this, from backend automation standpoint, we have entire operations process chain to be automated. We still have a lot of human intervention in several processes. We are at about 50-51% of an STP ratio, where no human intervention happens in servicing customer transactions and services. But we have lots more to do there. If you see even the call center space, the voice technologies are emerging as one big enabler, which will give us very quick turnaround time, 24/7 capability now. Call centers mostly have, they shut down over the weekend or at night. So call center automation through voice technologies like voice bots, audio visual bots, all that space will transform. And you will see most of the transactions happening or services being availed through voice technology over the next few years. That's where we're investing quite heavily. In fact, we already have about 100 plus bots built in across our financial services businesses in the voice technology space already, and we're investing more in that. So overall, lots to do right across the process chain or customer lifecycle chain with us, on the automation front.
Yeah, meaningful highlights, Mr. Malik there. Let me bring you here, Mr. Gupta. You heard the panelists talking about what could be the next step in the automation. So connecting the dots, I would like you to tell us what could be the future technologies which BFSI companies may use for the better use of automation or the future of automation, because you heard the robotic process automation, voice technologies, Malik said some time back, and so many other things, artificial intelligence and all. Mr. Lingwal talk about Adda. So what are the future technologies that you think will drive the automation of BFSI companies?
Thanks, Amol. I think I'd probably kind of like to start with how Google looks at it, right? So I think as Google, as everybody would on the call probably appreciates, Google's mission has always been to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful, right? I think and we what we are doing, right, from a technology standpoint, is trying to understand, right, like Mr. Malik said, both on the claims automation perspective, on the voice and contact center automation perspective, as Mr. Lingwal mentioned about the process automation perspective, and looking at how do we actually make that process much more seamless, right? So from a future of technology standpoint, I think the one major shift I see, the first major shift I see happening is that till now, much of the industry kind of has used a very use case based approach to automation, right? And and everybody has used, right, across the world, everybody has used a very use case based approach. What I mean by use case based approach is if I look at a lending journey, right, or if they look at a customer acquisition journey, right, looking at a customer acquisition process and trying to look at the process and then looking at technologies to intervene, right? So that is one approach, right? Second is I think that probably will start to shift to platformized approach, right, which will also help organizations get a common consumer data platform for driving multiple not only processes but also analysis, right? And which is where the use of AI ML technologies will probably also propel that shift, right? That is one major shift. The second, I think, major shift that we look at, right, as we start to do this platformization, would be the combination of AI and ML on top of this data that is being collated, right? Mr. Malik again spoke about the fact that today about 50% of his claims are probably automatically or in a are serviced in an automated fashion. He sees it going to about 80%. I'm sure he'll agree that a large part of that will be building intelligence into the systems of handling claims, right? Whether it be identification of the claimant, whether it be validating the nature of the claim, whether it be processing the claim, or whether it be actually disbursing the claim, right? So across the various stages, there will have to be kind of intelligence built in to take some decisions which are currently not kind of being done by machines, right? So and third, I think the area that I see is there will still be requirement, right, from a human interface perspective, right? So the organization will also probably, along with the platformized approach and intelligence built in, will need to defer certain decisions, certain actions to humans, right? So how do we seamlessly orchestrate that, right?
Yes.
So which are the three focus areas, I think, from a platform provider perspective as well, like Google, to make sure that we are assisting with all our technologies around these three areas, right?
Noted your points, Mr. Gupta. Now let me come to one again important question, and I will take this question with all of you. We understood how you are actually, using the automation for the better productivity. What are your future plans are, and what are the day-to-day operations you are going to put on the automation going ahead. But as the theme of the session is business on Agile automation, I also want to learn from all of you that how actually will the automation, help you grow your business. Like some time back, somebody, said that it actually helps. For example, Mr. Malik said that 85% will be underwriting. Underwriting will be automated. So I could see that the speed of the actuaries will increase because currently there is a dearth of talent in the actuary space going ahead. So all these challenges will be solved with the automation. So my question to you is, when you are going so aggressively and using agile automation as a frame, how will it actually help you in your business? How will it actually help your business grow? I will start with you, Mr. Shah.
See, growth in the business, there are 2-3 points. If you are able to do the automation and reduce the workload, then that the person or the systems are free, and then you can use those human resource in increasing the business by doing certain marketing or reaching out to the unbanked areas. That kind of things will happen, and automatically your growth will be there. That's the first point. And second point is from the back end. If you are putting that things kind in place and your operational efficiency is increasing, your cost is coming down, so your bottom line is also getting improved. And if your bottom line is improving, then you have the sufficient the balance sheet which will be supporting you in terms of growth. Whether you are putting in systems, you are putting in more, marketing, or on the latest technologies to reach out to the last mile, whether through the communication or some other means. So automation in a multiple ways. And so another one, with these kind of good automation, where with using the analytics in picture, you are helping and improving the customer experience. And once the customer experience is on the highest side, then the mouse publicity is the one which is the best one, and it always help you to grow the systems. So that's the way it is going to help to the organization, the automation in terms of growth.
Okay. Sure. Sure, Mr. Sharma. Mr. Lingwal?
Yeah, so Mr. Amol, I think Mr. Malik has covered the areas which are prominent as far as automation is concerned. So basically, in insurance industry, we cannot work in silos. We have to create an ecosystem with our distributors, other partners. And there, this plug and play kind of solutions uh, majorly contributes a lot in our business development. This is the one area. Strengthening of our operations will enable us to deal with the large volumes. So there, if we can automate the entire back-end processes, that will result into handling of more and more volume with more efficient in a more efficient way. Third thing which I would like to mention here is that most of this AIML needs a strong database. So now the most of the companies are working toward the data purification, data reserve. They are creating data reserves basis on which AI can deliver the fantastic result to take on. So that is why if you start working on your data, that will help you to serve regulator in a better way, right? So regulatory requirements are attended to a large extent with much more accuracy and consistency. Likewise, if we talk about the bots, be it chat bots, email bot that we have already implemented. Recently, we have launched Sakhi chatbot in our company. So this always results in a better customer service. And when you talk about the aggregator, there you are competing with your, different companies. If you have got a very good automated system to deal with the policy issuance, claim settlements, so on and so forth, I think you will have a major chunk that is emanating from your aggregator. So these are the few advantages which are basically on account of automation, which can
Okay.
accrue to your company.
Sure. Sure, Mr. Lingwal. Mr. Tavadia?
See, from our side, we are basically an exchange sort of a regulated entity. And broking also is also what we feel is the largest cost of running a business is your compliance costs. So if you can uh, work out in the future, like having a centralized compliance agent so that everything which is required for a compliance can be taken from one place, sort of a thing. That's where the processes are there so that everybody does not have to do KYC. If a KYC, for example, I have a passport, just an example, I can just give my passport number and all my details are there. So once whatever you filled up, it can automatically automated with the say that agency, and it is like the KYC confirmed. So on some secure protocols, what will happen is that will ease out so much of burden on every organization to maintain so much of documents. Everybody has a Aadhaar copy of mine, for example. Rather than having 100 Aadhaar copies of mine in 100 institutions, I don't know from where it is got leaked out. If tomorrow if that breach happens. Okay. Instead of that, I say that this is my identity. You please check. This is my identity with the central agency. At least your information leakages and also the cost of managing, because it's not easy to maintain confidentiality of these customers. Everybody has, like, for example, banks, insurance, they have tons and tons, millions of customer information. Now everybody duplicates that cost. A customer of one bank is also a customer in another bank, is also a customer in the, so so many people collectively are wasting so much money as a nation. So I think this is where the automation will help at the country level, where we have centralized sort of identification system or some system, whatever we call that.
Right.
So the persons, so and that will reduce all the financial institutions costs drastically, because everybody is spending huge amounts in compliance, managing this customer or data.
Right, right. No, I think very valid point since we're talking about business front and you give I think compliance cost is the largest cost is your a very valid point, I guess. And not just in BFSI, it's everywhere. Even if you want to buy another telecom connection, you have to submit the documents again. You want to take an additional number, you still, have to submit all the documents
Exactly.
again to the telecom
So
company,
many
right?
times that people give it unknowingly information without realizing who's taking it, whether that fellow has taken 10 Xerox copies and kept it for himself and given one copy to the company.
Exactly, exactly. No,
Okay.
true. Thank you. Valid points on the,
So we should
business.
not ask for any copies from anybody. So that is,
Sure.
maybe it will have some Xerox copies wala we might get against you a little bit, but that's okay.
Sure, sure, Mr. Tavadia. Uh, so I think valid points there. Let me come to you, Mr. Malik.
Okay, on the same question you said. Okay,
Yes.
how do we enable business growth, or I would say how do we drive business
Yeah.
growth? I could take next 30 minutes to answer this question, and I will still not be done, because technology is a pillar. If you remove from the bottom of an organization these days, especially in BFSI, the corporation collapses actually. So you talk about anything. Let me talk about pre-sales space, and then let me talk about retention and so on. So in the pre-sales space, when you, let's say, make calls to customers, I'll give you some ballpark numbers. About 50 to 55% calls only are picked up by the prospects, and not more than 1/4 of those calls cross 5 seconds. So you waste so much of energy, so much of effort by having your call center agents do that. So all that space is being revolutionized by having voice bots. So you enable that. Then you have the front end channels for the customers to log in their requests, their new application forms, and so on. All that stuff automation is happening. Mr. Lingwal spoke about ecosystem partner integrations. Like, it's unlike 20 years back when one bank used to process everything internally, and Max would deal with some other bank for remittance of money only. Now it's an aggregation of many other platforms and companies which form a process cycle for a customer transaction to go through. So imagine the enablement that you create for the business and help them integrate much, much faster through API routes. And there are different ways of doing it. I could do it better than someone else, or somebody else could do it better than me. That adds to the business efficiency or a lack of it to that extent. So you enable the pre-sales part of it, the onboarding part of it. We spoke about underwriting piece. How do you enable the entire customer experience, which gets you the brand enhancement? Word of mouth gives you more business. Better NPS scores get you, a higher amount of business. So all these are big enablers. And Mr. Sharma spoke about customer experience leading to great brand building and so on. When you come into back offices, you could automate the risk management. You could have, customer level exposure across different businesses of ours. Can you aggregate them? Financial reporting, regulatory reporting. So you speak of any space, and like technology is becoming the driver for us, and helping businesses grow much faster. And this became most evident during pandemic, when all of us were sitting at home, but still we were creating business and enabling customer transactions right through this period. And it has only become more strengthened in the last 2 years. And I think the future is very promising, both for the customers and the corporations.
Okay. Very well said, Mr. Malik. And Mr. Gupta, your turn. So obviously, I will pick the same question to you. Obviously, the companies are looking for a business front as well, but I'm sure you must be talking to a lot of companies, and they must be talking about the business front while talking about the automation. So how do you think that can be matched, or how do you think the whole BFSI companies can actually make business out of automation?
No, I think Amol, I think everybody has spoken about the fact that we always automation always started off from an efficiency perspective, right? And most of the organizations started in terms of getting a better operating efficiency, right? But as Mr. Malik also mentioned, right, over the last 2 years, especially, right, if you look at the amount of digital acquisition that all companies have had to do, right, because of the pandemic, is immense, right? The numbers are there to show, there's, upwards of 70-80% of the customers acquisition being done today are digital. So if as a technology company, right, we don't kind of enable that, then there is a problem, right? So for example, today we get asked, or we partner with clients on increasing their entire acquisition funnel, right? When I say funnel, it's also about access that Mr. Sharma spoke about, right? In terms of getting better access to people. As you're getting better access to people, some of them will have data available around their credit worthiness or their bankability or their insurability, but some will not, right? So how do you get better data sources and integrate those data sources at the point of access to make sure that you're assessing the client better, and then engaging the client with the with the company as well, right? So we work on all three aspects with our clients in terms of making sure that the funnel is getting increased and the business growth potential is getting increased from a digital acquisition standpoint. Then I think Mr. Tavadia spoke a lot about getting fundamental rail and pipes put in, right, at the national level, so that we are not replicating or duplicating data, right? So that's a very important point. But at the same time, I think Mr. Lingwal also spoke about the fact that there is a need for ingesting a large amount of data into our operations, right? So that then we can make meaningful decisions around that data, right? So that's again, right? And I'll just add one more element to it. It all needs to be done real time, right? So it's not about getting just data ingested and kind of we are working in silos post facto. It all needs to be enabled real time, right? Which is where we are working with many organizations today to kind of get that access, ingestion as well as analytics on top of that, done in a real time manner. And third is, I think, we also spoke about the fact in terms of regulatory compliance and, and the compliance overlay that needs to happen, or that's the reality that we all live in, right? So how do we kind of make sure that all this is also kind of leading to better controls and better regulatory compliance? The third area, right? So I think robustness from an operations standpoint, but at the same time, increasing the digital acquisition flow for our customers is what we are looking at.
Okay. Meaningful thoughts from all of you, gentlemen. I wish I could have taken a few more questions, but I think the time is up. Watch is already ticking. But I'm sure the audience must have enjoyed, and they will, maybe rewatch this session again and again whenever they want to understand how the BFSI companies are actually looking at automation, what are the future plans of the automation, and how to gain business value out of the agile automation that the BFSI companies are working on. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for sharing remarkable insights here, and being part of ETBFSI, which is the company. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Amol.